Alejandra walked into her fifth grade classroom after spending her break reading her favorite book, a story she already knew by heart in Spanish. But the moment she sat down, everything around her shifted. New sounds, new expectations, new rules she didn't quite understand. She recognized the math on the board, but not the words explaining it. So she stayed quiet. She watched and wondered if her Spanish still belonged in this room. If you teach multilingual learners, you've probably seen your own version of Alejandra, quiet, capable, and wondering if what they know counts in your classroom. But here's the truth we see in classrooms every day. Multilingual learners aren't starting from zero. They arrive with entire worlds of knowledge, language, culture, lived experiences already inside them. Our job is to help them use those worlds to succeed. Today, more than 5 million K-12 students in U.S. public schools are identified as English learners, accounting for little over 10% of the student population. And every day, multilingual learners are solving two problems at once: understanding new content and navigating a language that may still feel unfamiliar. Even something simple, like asking a student to explain their reasoning, can become a barrier if the language itself feels out of reach. But when instruction is culturally and linguistically responsive, that barrier lowers. Students feel safe making mistakes, begin to participate more, and connect what they know in one language to new learning in another. And that's when achievement begins to rise. Long-term studies of dual language programs show that students in strong bilingual models can outperform their monolingual peers by about a grade level in reading by middle school. In this session, you'll see 8 practical strategies. As you watch, jot down which ones you already use and which ones you want to try next week. Making learning visible through visual supports. This helps students by making abstract ideas more concrete and easier to understand, especially when they are still working on their English. Visual supports like anchor charts, labeled classroom materials, diagrams, timelines, Venn diagrams, and co-created word walls make learning concrete for multilingual students. Think about the last time you tried to understand something complicated without a visual. Hard, right? These are scaffolds students rely on: daily reminders of vocabulary, models of academic thinking, and pathways for memory. In multilingual classrooms, visuals give students the confidence to participate before they're fully fluent. Try it this week by creating a quick graphic organizer with students during the lesson. When they help build the visual, they internalize the content more deeply, giving language a structure with sentence frames and word banks. This helps students by giving them a safe way to express their thinking, even when their language skills are still developing. Imagine being able to solve a problem but not having the words to explain it yet. That's the daily reality for many multilingual learners. Sentence frames like "one thing I noticed is," or "the evidence shows," give students a safe starting point. That way, they shift the cognitive load away from grammar and toward ideas. Students get to focus on their thinking and not whether their English is perfect. You don't need to feel as you're babying your students, as this is evidence-based scaffolding. Researchers have found that when learners can rely on frames and word banks, they participate more and focus on higher-order thinking, not just basic vocabulary recall. Over time, you fade the scaffolds and students build independence. However, at the beginning, these tools can be the difference between silence and participation. Try it this week by adding 1 or 2 sentence frames to a discussion or written response and modeling how students can use them. Building understanding with interactive read-alouds. This helps students by strengthening comprehension, vocabulary, and confidence through modeled reading and low-risk participation. Multilingual learners benefit from hearing fluent reading and seeing reading modeled as a process. During a read-aloud, pause to think aloud, "How do I know what this word means?" Or, "Why did the author use this example?" These small moments teach reading strategies explicitly. They also create low-stakes opportunities for students to participate by pointing to pictures, echoing phrases, or answering quick comprehension checks. During read-alouds, you're not just reading to students. You're modeling how skilled readers predict, infer, and monitor understanding. Read-alouds build vocabulary, background knowledge, and confidence all at once. Try it this week by choosing one place in a text to pause and model your thinking out loud, then inviting students to respond in a low-pressure way, creating more talk time with structured conversations. This helps students by giving them more opportunities to practice academic language in supportive, predictable ways. One of the biggest challenges multilingual learners face is simply not getting enough chances to talk. Practice spaces with support such as visuals, partner roles, or sentence starters create predictable, low-pressure moments for academic conversation. When students talk more, they learn the language faster, and when those conversations are structured, they take risks more confidently. You can try adding a visual prompt, a model response, or a speaker-listener routine. Without structure, the same confident voices tend to dominate. Routines like think, pair, share with sentence starters make sure every student gets airtime. You'll soon realize how these small tweaks dramatically increase participation. Try it this week by planning one structured partner conversation with clear roles and sentence starters. Connecting language to movement. This helps students by reinforcing meaning through physical action, which supports comprehension and memory. For early-stage learners especially, movement accelerates comprehension. Total Physical Response, TPR, a language teaching method developed by psychologist James Asher, turns vocabulary into action. When students act out a word, they anchor its meaning physically and cognitively. A 2023 neurolinguistics study published by the MDPI Journal states that gestures engage motor, visual, and semantic brain networks simultaneously and help strengthen new vocabulary. This works beautifully for directions, scientific processes, or vocabulary tied to gestures. If you want to go one step further, ask older students to help design the movements and make it a collaborative experience. Try it this week by introducing one new vocabulary word or direction using gestures and having students act it out together, letting students use their home language. This helps students by lowering anxiety and allowing them to build understanding using the language they know best. Also known as translanguaging, using their home language as support is a great way to learn English. Let students brainstorm, annotate, or plan in the language they know best. Encourage bilingual dictionaries, multilingual texts, and peer support. Studies of translanguaging show that allowing students to use their full language repertoire can reduce anxiety and deepen understanding, especially when they're transitioning into instruction in a new language. You can set clear expectations, plan and brainstorm in any language, then share final ideas in the language of instruction. This way, translanguaging bridges what students already know with what they're trying to learn. It strengthens comprehension, reduces anxiety, and validates identity. Try it this week by allowing students to plan or annotate in their home language before sharing ideas in English, differentiating without lowering expectations. This helps students by giving them multiple pathways to access the same rigorous learning goals. Tiered assignments let every learner access rigorous content, just with differing levels of support. The standard stays the same. What changes is the pathway and the scaffold students use to reach it. Some students may use word banks. Others analyze primary sources. Some build models. Others write reflections. Differentiation doesn't have to mean simplifying or expecting less from English learners. It can also look like matching the task to the learner's readiness, so every student has a pathway to success. Try it this week by offering two versions of the same task, with different supports while keeping the learning goal the same. Assessing both language and content. This helps students by ensuring they are evaluated fairly for what they know, even while they are still developing language skills. Quick exit tickets, observed conversations, or student self-assessments are formative checks that help you see what students understand and how their language is developing. Dual goal rubrics with, for example, one column for content and one for language, prevent students from being penalized academically for skills they're still learning linguistically. For example, a science rubric might have one column for concepts like understands the water cycle and another for language moves like uses sequence words, first, next, finally. Try it this week by revising one rubric or exit ticket to include both a content goal and a language goal. A multilingual friendly classroom isn't built overnight. It's built through patterns like clear content, language objectives, predictable routines for speaking and writing, strategic use of home languages, co-created visuals, and formative checks that guide instruction. Over time, these routines lower students' affective filter, raise participation, and increase achievement. Now please pause and think about your classroom for a moment. Jot down which ones you already use and which ones you want to try next week. Maybe sentence frames, or a new read-aloud routine, or a small group with intentional scaffolding. Now comment which one it is you're trying, and we can give you additional tips. Remember that every shift you make teaches students something powerful, that they belong there and their ideas matter. If you'd like to explore more ideas and classroom-ready strategies, visit ensemblelearning.org. You'll find a library of original Ensemble learning resources, including free tools, articles, educator interviews, and research-driven insights, all designed to help your school empower multilingual learners at every level. Join the conversation by subscribing, sharing your reflections below, and sending this video to a colleague who's committed to helping students thrive in every language they speak.